What is this all right that you do, Dalan? What is this? You're like all right. Anyways, we're back on another episode of Salient Points. 117. This was for July 11th, 2023. I'm Carl's the master of what, Dalan?
The master of Matthew McConaughey quotes, because I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
The master of Matthew McConaughey quotes. All right. Dalan Kirkwood from up in the mountains. Thank you for joining us, sir.
You're welcome.
Yeah. What are we sponsored by anybody this week, Dalan, or no? Maybe
no. I mean, all I got this time was some Ritz crackers. I got my nice action figure set up over here. If we want to be sponsored by anybody, it's going to be Cade 6. He might make a triumphant return to Destiny 2.
Damn, spoilers.com. I do like the shirt, Dalan. It's a little melted Rubik's Cube. I like that. Why couldn't I be the master of melted Rubik's Cube? Why you gotta give me something weird?
Because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about sometimes.
Oh shit! It's on wax, man. People can go back and like they can make that determination for themselves. We do got Luis Mendez on the wheels of steel, of course. He's got that perfect NVIDIA blurriness effect. Is that what you're still messing with over there, Luis? Or what? It's super.
I'm pretty sure Dale was using it before I did. But yeah.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And we promised you he was alive. We actually didn't make any like jokes like we were making for Luis that we promised he's still kind of around. But Deo Blas, we haven't seen you in a good while, man. It's good seeing you back. I don't know if you want to put on wax. You know, you just kind of been away from the mic and stuff like that. You know,
it was Health and Family Month, and I just needed to cover some stuff, and But I'm glad that I'm welcome back to this wonderful podcast as always. Good to see your faces.
I hope you appreciate that every single week. He's still in the rundown, man. I'm still throwing him in there, but I'm like, no pressure though, please, no pressure.
It is a privilege that you have appeared before us, Dale. But as somebody on Reddit said, they had to get a divorce just to be able to get good Medicare.
Oh,
damn. Yeah. Okay.
It's no joke.
Interesting thread, Dalan.
Hey, Dalan. Okay, look. There wasn't anything too explosive this past week, but we'll get right to it. It's gonna be an episode of quick takes. By the way, if you guys want to comment, subscribe, like all that fun stuff, we will read your comment. This is a promise. I think we get every episode maybe like 40, 50. We were getting the low less than teens. So I don't know if that's progress where we get like 40, 50 views every week. But if you put a comment and all that, we'll make sure we're going to talk about it. And Dalan will respond. He will respond. But you will get into quick takes real quick. And the first thing we have on here is that 87% of classic games are lost to time due to copyright laws. And I didn't know this. I'm learning this. I know, Dale, you're a big kind of a preservation buff, right? But apparently there's a word that they use. It's called quote unquote critically endangered, and that's according to the Video Game History Foundation, VGHF, and Software Preservation Network, SPN, which means that these games are entirely inaccessible or extremely difficult to play and unable in physical or digital form via publisher online storefront. And I do have a quote from GameSpot, them saying that, quote, for accessing nearly 9 in 10 classic games, there are few options. Seek out and maintain vintage collectible games and hardware, travel across the country to visit a library, or piracy, the VGHF stated in the report it released alongside the data. None of those options are desirable, which means that most video games are inaccessible to all but the most diehard and dedicated fans. That's pretty grim. Dale, what do you make of this, man? I know even we're looking at your camera right now, and it looks kind of amazing, I think, right? It's video games and related miscellanea. Is that what's going on back there?
Capcom too. Oh, yeah, that's what counts.
So you're
mostly Legos.
Another option, the Legos as well, but another option, go to Deo's house, right? I guess would be like Deo has all the video games. But what do you make of this critically endangered scenario that we're looking at?
This is like truly a thing. They're like the Video Game History Foundation, which is based here in California, actually, in like Oakland. Has been trying to preserve as much as they can, not only just video games, but video game magazines and print ads and everything like that. All the culture trying to surround video games is what they're trying to preserve. But it's still really difficult. And if you look across like a lot of mediums, like music and the movies, like those are all really well preserved, especially in like the Library of Congress and everything like that, but not games. Like games aren't. They're like the bastard child of like, medias or something like that. But it's really difficult. I really recommend piracy. in this case.
Okay.
Like,
Well,
I know you could go to like
the opinions. Look, he's been gone for 3-4 weeks and he's coming in with the smoke. And the opinions of Dale Blas don't reflect the opinions that we got calm. But go ahead, Dale. Go ahead.
This is a very reputable podcast, but this is my own informed opinion. But I think piracy is great.
Okay.
I know we've been sharing the same kind of like what do you call it, emulation and what do you call it, bundles from like Pirate Bay for years. Like I've had like
it's the same file, man. It's the same file.
Files.
Yeah.
But there are like that 10% that was never really captured the way they should have been captured. So yeah, this is like a real thing going on. It's sad because like most people like don't care. They normally think that like, oh yeah, this is just old junk hardware or old junk software that they don't have any use for anymore technology wise. So there's no investment for them.
Yeah, so right now we kind of are just hopeful. We cross our fingers, for example, that Nintendo brings back some of these games and they charge us $50 a year, or however much me and Dalan are paying for that expansion pass, right? So it's kind of you're just based on hopefully they bring these games back, right? But it also makes a case for like these remakes. Well, I don't know if it makes a case. They're just gonna make more money, right? But I kind of like for movies you got like the Criterion Collection. You got these different things where they re-release these things. So that's kind of one of those things where like, okay, I know that game came out 10 years ago, but they'll make it again and we'll buy it again, and at least it's across we can see it again. But there's concerns as well, right, as far as like these games like Alan Wake 2. I think we talked about it on Wax maybe last week or in the last couple weeks, where it's just digital only, right? So it's kind of like that's one of those things where even the companies themselves like, what do you need a disc for? What do you need it for? Dalan, what do you make of this wackiness here?
I think that a lot of companies, when they're making games, they don't expect them to be lasting through like 30 or 40 years, and people wanted to really go back and play those super old games. I think they're just now realizing that the classics that they made back then were just gonna be what is the word that they actually use now? Where
retro, vintage.
No, I'm talking about where people just follow it. They got a following. All these games got a following. I mean, that's the reason that Pokemon just blew up like crazy. I mean, there was the anime, yes, but the Pokemon video game was way too popular, and there's no way you couldn't see that thing running for more than 10 years. But they built the game with the expectation that it was only going to last for like 5. Yeah. Which was very frustrating, especially when the gaming industry is always trying to make the next system and try and move on from the older systems. And they're trying to make their older games classic. And now they're going back and they're saying, let's remaster everything. Yeah. Which in the long run for us is good. But in the short run, it's just extra time.
Well, and there's stuff that, there's stuff that just won't come back, man. I mean, a little, as a preview, we're going to talk about a couple franchises, Banjo Kazooie and Kid Icarus, that those are not coming back. And maybe they shouldn't come back, right? Maybe they shouldn't come back. Maybe that's correct, but they're still like, why not be part of the historical archive and easy to access and all that, right? No, we'll go to Dale before we go to... Oh, go ahead, Dale. Sorry.
Go ahead. Good.
Well, I was gonna say I was thinking about in regards to copyright laws specifically. The biggest one that is in my mind, I think it was either Rock Band or Guitar Hero, where they had a whole list of songs when those games came out. But then the copyrights and their contracts ended, and then they couldn't add back a lot of those songs, and suddenly the games weren't as good as they were. Like,
but at least
had the songs in them.
But at least in those games, you have like. I don't know how many songs they put, but let's say 100 songs that are still on the disc, right? They can't take those away from you, right? So, Dale, go ahead, and then we'll go with Luis. And then
no, I don't want to step on any toes. No, go to Luis first, and then I'll comment after.
All right, Luis. We'll let Dale finish it off. But what do you think, Luis?
Yeah, I mean it's only going to get worse, I think, especially when it keeps leaning into that digital only era, and not a lot of devs are pulling that trigger, especially AAA, Quad A, whatever you want to call them now. But maybe Alan Wake is the first of many. It's just like it's only digital, and then after that, like there's probably going to be no way to access it if it gets removed off a storefront or something. But even with the remastering that Dalan was talking about, like who knows what happens down the line with situations like Metal Gear, Yakuza, or whatever, where they might not give credit to the original developers, or in the case of The Last of Us Part 2, where because it was entirely rebuilt, there was a whole new set of like credits to people, artists, developers, animators, whatever. So history gets rewritten, you know.
That's terrible.
That's
Right.
kind of what I was thinking.
Hideo Kojima.
It
Yeah.
gets rewritten.
So what do you think, Dale? Before we kind of get on to the next thing?
Um,
It's a big topic,
yeah.
though. It is a big
No,
topic. That's a big
it's a
one.
broad topic. It's a
Yeah.
broad one to talk about. Because like not only are you thinking about games that could possibly be remade with like available controls, there are other games that are like of its time or of its era that are like accessory bound, like things like Steel Battalion or like Guitar Hero or something like that. Like if you try to play Steel Battalion, you're gonna have to like do a bunch of macros on your keyboard or whatever. You need two joysticks, which you know some systems wouldn't even understand like how to do that. So those are like specific made games tied to like peripherals that are of that era, like the three of the Xbox era and that sixth generation. So you lose a lot of that. You lose a lot of the atmosphere and the intention for a game that way. Through
Yeah, so it's good.
non-preservation.
Yeah, so it's good. It's good we have like efforts like this. But it, you know, and it's a big number, right? For them, like 87%, your shit is gonna be lost. You know. So, but you know, I think for the most part, the most of the games you will ever want to play, you can have some access to them. But yes, it's true. It's a little grim. Dalan, what's going on here, sir?
It's just my last thing. It's more so a comment based on what Dale said. I appreciate the fact that in this environment of video gamers being very toxic when it comes to talking about their favorite games, that this topic has been more of a discussion rather than an argument. And I'm glad that we can actually have it just be a discussion.
Yeah, but I think ultimately too, we got to consider the arbiters or the, I don't know, whatever you call them, like Sega, Nintendo, Xbox themselves. They don't care, man. Like that's kind of the biggest thing, right? Is that they do not care to keep their own history alive, right? And some do it better than others, right? Some do it better than others, but it's like they don't even care. I think they're thinking on the back end, this is a business. Can we bring this franchise back? How can we blockchain it? How can we all this bullshit of NFTs? How can we bring it back and make money off of it, right? So we'll see going forward. Look, I just want to quickly mention, of course, this is kind of like the last parts of the court filings for the FTC, but I like how I don't know if you guys noticed, but that Xbox in some of the documents, they were pushing back against the FTC's argument that it's like, oh, this is a 2-horse race, it's just Sony and Xbox, and you know, Xbox was very quick to point out, I was like, hold on, it's a 3-person race here. It's Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch, and you know, in that way, Xbox decided to say, this is a quote from Kotaku saying that PlayStation likewise sells a less expensive digital edition for $399.99 and is expected to release a PlayStation 5 Slim later this year at the same reduced price point, which is their point of saying, like, we're all competing against each other. That's why, you know, the Xbox has a lower price point, Xbox Series S, and the PlayStation 5 sells a cheaper one, and they're going to get a Slim out here, out there. So I kind of like the smoke from all the court filings, and I think that's like the last bit that came out of it, because you know they already had all the hearings and everything they were gonna do. So but we'll see until the next round, I guess. We'll see when this thing goes through, because there's a lot of bombs definitely being thrown around. One of the other big things this past week, or this was actually yesterday, is that SEGA unionizes. It's going to be one of the biggest in gaming. This is via The Verge. They're saying workers at SEGA of America representing multiple departments have voted to form a union, with 91 employees voting yes out of a total of 212 eligible employees. The Allied Employees Guild Improving SEGA, that's a long name, also known as Aegis CWA, becomes the 5th video game union in the United States and its largest multi-department video game union. I thought that was pretty interesting. As far as a person that works union, I know some of the pros and cons to that kind of system, but I kind of wish them for the best, right? Because in some senses, the fact that you can do collective bargaining and you know, with numbers, you know, you have more options. Hopefully this is good as far as the companies are concerned. Look, as the resident game developer on the podcast, Luis, what are your kind of thoughts on this? And please, it's okay if, you know, we don't want to put you on no hot water or anything like that. So
all of my thoughts on this were based on that this wasn't Sega of America. I thought this was like somewhere overseas.
Okay.
But I guess looking at these stats here, that is a surprisingly low number of people. Like it's less than 50% of like, yeah, let's rally, and then come on, we gonna rally or what? Like, what's going on?
Not everybody showed up.
It's hard, man.
Don't like to vote. They need to vote.
That's true.
That was my thing. I was gonna bring that up. I was like, that was 91, and that means 121 people either didn't vote or just like a good chunk of them just didn't show up.
Yeah, it is kind of wacky, man. But I don't know. Maybe it is a potential trend, right? It is the fifth company, and this has come about in the last few years, right? So we'll see what happens. But Sega's the latest. Sega of America's what would it have been if it wasn't Sega of America? At least I guess what was interesting to you had it not been, or if you thought it was Japan.
Well, in comparison, I don't know about Sega of America in particular, but in comparison, I've heard that overseas developers are, we are kind of worked to the bone in a sense, like long hours and this and that. But I've heard horror stories about people overseas of like where they kind of like lose their entire livelihoods to their job essentially. So. That was going to be like, oh, good for them, basically. But, nah.
And those Japanese workers, I know that they be sleeping in the offices.
No, I've done that
and
before.
they have less... No, I mean like around the clock, and they have very little going home time.
I think he just told you he has done it before. I don't know why you trying to downplay
Oh, you mean like long periods, like you were at the office for like a month and you slept in the office?
Not a month, but like 36-hour shifts, sleeping overnight, continuing
36 hours.
It was even worse than that. They don't have you're off for that period of time to go home and sleep. They give you a sleep duration time. Yeah. It's like, all right, you have like 3 hours to go take a nap or something and go get something. Like, okay.
Yeah, I think I don't know if like let's compare one country versus the other, which one's better or worse. But I know it is sort of a badge of honor here in America. I know you see a lot of like unemployment and people don't want to work, but at the same time, there's at the other extreme too. Like people really work themselves to the bone. But I think I don't know. This is just speculation, I guess you could call it. But I would assume in America, at least you get paid what you put in or earned, right? In the sense that I think I didn't put it in the rundown this week, but the numbers that were coming around that even like Activision's like top lawyer makes more than Miyamoto and their CEO and all this stuff. So it's kind of one of those things that in other countries they work themselves to the bone, but they don't necessarily make as much, like when you compare, right, apples to apples or whatever it is. It's tough.
But I know I did say my.
No, I said apples to apples, Dalan. I know what I said.
I know what you said.
Don't be correcting me on the references there.
All right. That's fine.
Go ahead, Dalan. We'll get to the next one. Go ahead, sir. Dale, nothing has changed. I think I said it off wax. Nothing has changed, sir.
Factual, absolutely.
Okay.
But even though I know I made my comment about Japan, the one flip side to them having all that time at work is that at least for them, unlike America, the harder you work, the more likely it is you'll get a promotion. So that's a huge flip side for them.
There's a lot there. I don't know if you want to respond to that, Luis, or do we go to the next thing there?
Only ever gotten promotions when I threatened to quit. So
there you go.
See, there you go. America's a little bit different.
That's how it works. That's how it works, America. You need leverage, all right? You need leverage. Next thing we have on here is that Respawn is seemingly recruiting for a third Star Wars Jedi game. This is via VGC. Respawn Entertainment is currently recruiting team members for what is presumably a third Star Wars Jedi game. The EA studio is seeking to hire a principal game writer and a senior VFX artist to work on new content for the action-adventure series. I still need to get around to the sequel, Dalan. I know, and I'm super hyped. The only thing is, you keep telling me the map is still just as crappy as the first game. I don't like that, but I gotta get around to it. Now knowing that there's maybe a third one around the corner, Dalan. What do you think, man? What are you over here typing, man? Answer.
No, you said it, and I was like, wait, was Respawn the ones who made the Jedi games, or were they the ones that made Battlefront?
I hate you, man. I hate you. I think. Well, they worked on Titanfall. They worked right
Titanfall 1 and 2.
But answer the question, Dalan. What's going on here?
Hey, man, I'm down for part 3 immediately. Do it as fast as possible. Part 2 was an excellent game, and I mentioned it on a previous episode. Now that they fixed it, it's even better. So, yes.
What was it made? Oh, that's right. There was a glitch. You couldn't get a trophy or something like that.
You can do a lot of things because of that one glitch. But when they fix that one glitch, you can suddenly do everything in the game.
The whole world opened up. Your whole eyes open to the possibilities. The thing that might be shutting down any possibilities is the Borderlands movie is in post-production. Hell, apparently, even the Last of Us writer wants his name off the project. This is according to Kotaku. And now it looks like the film's original co-writer, Craig Mazin, wants his name nowhere near this film, as reported by World of Real and confirmed via the Writers Guild website. The current credited writers on the Borderlands film are Eli Roth and Joe Crombie, a pseudonym for Craig Mazin. Dalan, what do you think, man? You're a little worried about this project here?
Very worried hearing that these guys are like, I'm bailing out and do not attach my name to anything that belongs to it. Yeah. When you hear something like that, you're like, no, it sounds like Castlevania all over again. Metal Gear all over it. It's happening. Yeah, it's going down in a dumpster fire from the top of a roof. It's just bad.
Okay. From the top of a roof. How'd that dumpster get up there, Dalan? Like a heavy dumpster fire?
I don't know, but now it's going down.
Hey, that is pretty good though. I like that you mentioned that. It's like when a man wants his name to be erased, he doesn't even want a producer credit. He doesn't want nothing involved with it. He's like, take me off of this thing as soon as possible, please. Hey, on another note, Diablo IV developers say it's okay to stop playing. It's okay to stop the game. This is according to Games Radar. They say, quote, the most important thing for us in Seasons, kind of going off script in a different way, is when you're playing Seasons and you're playing Diablo 4, you're having a great time, and when you've reached all the goals and done all the things you think are really, really important and you want to take a break to play something else for a while, that's fine. We do the same thing. Game director Joseph Peoria said during a recent developer live stream. What do you think, Luis? Are you gonna take this man's advice? And sometimes you can, not necessarily Diablo, but any game, you can take a break.
What, like Destiny?
Yeah,
hey, Destiny is the epitome of taking that break.
But what is that? Is
I
that?
Find it interesting that developers are like, you can stop playing our game. It's okay. It'll be fine. You can go play something else. But
take a break, come back. But they said stop playing. Like, no, take a break. That would their verbiage is terrible.
Stop stepping on his lines, Dalan. You said no in the rundown, man. Stop stepping on Luis's lines, man.
I was to see where it would go.
Oh, I was seeing too, and we allowed it. But Luis, what were Luis, what was
let me try to remember my point. Oh yeah, the way that they built the game, from what I remember, I don't know the specifics, but it essentially like resets every season, right? So you have to kind of do and level up everything again. So in that way, I think if that was their intention, or that's just a byproduct of how they built the game, I think it would be easier to step away, because you're not like building on top of anything necessarily, or like it'll kind of refresh every season. So yeah, I guess it kind of worked out for them in that sense, if that was their intention.
I'm sure that's part of the reason why he kind of says it that way as well, right? Because like you were saying, it's a new season, new character, new me. So it's kind of like, well, just step away, man. It's cool. Instead of getting the backlash of people like, what the I gotta start a new character. But Diablo 4 Season of the Malignant, that drops July 20th. On a different note here, Dalan, Square Enix, I believe, I don't have it here, I deleted that part of the rundown, but Square Enix is considering remastering other Final Fantasies after the success with Pixel remasters, and I like that Garnet Lee, who was previously of 1UP, he's out there in Sweden somewhere now, he said, quote, look Square Enix, don't even play. I am so about a Vagrant Story remaster, one of my all-time favorite games. Dalan, we'll go to you first, man. What are you thinking about this here?
I'm thinking about the fact that Square Enix just needs to remaster as many of their classic games as they can, because we've been waiting for a lot of these remasters, and it's not like they're not selling. I think people are super excited for Final Fantasy IX as it is. I mean, as soon as that was even like hinted at, people were excited. And somebody went into the Unreal Engine and made a whole 30-minute video of the very beginning of the game, and that looked excellent, and I'd go back and play that game. They could just remaster all their classic games and we'll be fine. I'm waiting for Xenogears to come out. All right?
Hey, I'm waiting
for Terra Enigma. Bring back Terra Enigma. Bring back Parasite Eve. Do it. Just do it, man.
Don't be scared. Dale, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I want Square soft remasters.
You
of their
can't
old
get
games.
that. It's gone.
I don't
can't
care.
get
I want it. I want Eve 1 and 2. I want like Einhander. I want all those kind of like games, especially Vagrant Story, because that was like super underrated at the time, and especially Xenogears. Like I always talk about that game, and like nobody knew what it was because everyone was all about Final Fantasy at the time.
Or
Xeno
Saga.
Or
Part 1, Offenweisen or something. Whatever.
Der Weisen, whatever.
Dare to live
German
your life
on.
yet again in German.
But yeah, I'm happy to hear that. So I want them to do that. But if it takes us spending tons of money over pixel remasters to do it, I guess that's what it is. We're telling them with our money that we want these remasters.
Yeah, that you're willing to pay the Square tax as well, man, because those pixel remasters are not cheap. Go ahead,
I'll tell you what. If they bring back the game, it's just not gonna have the Square soft logo on it. Just like if they brought back Terra Enigma, it's not gonna have just the Enix logo on it. But they can bring back both
Chocobo Racing, please.
I don't know why you'd even say that. That's a
Chocobo Racing in the Horizon engine, Dale. Okay, the Horizon.
No.
There you go.
But you brought up Xenogears, and the one game that a lot of people, for whatever reason, didn't know about at the time, and I was a huge fan of, was a game called Airgees. Do you know what that game is?
Yeah.
Airgees was a huge like fighting game for PS1 at the time, but at the same time, like nobody played it. It was a weird thing.
Wait, was it a big hit, or did no one play it, or did it only sell 500,000 copies, Dalan? What's going on here?
It sold enough to make its money back.
It is technically a critically endangered copy of a video game. I'm telling you that.
But it had some obscure characters in it, which is what I was going to mention. So people were put off by like, who the heck is Godhead? Who is this yo-yo girl cop? I don't understand what's happening in this. But when you got Cloud doing Meteor Raid and Sephiroth trying to murder you and Tifa beating people up, I'm still down to play that game.
All right, well, there you go. Hey, I like that you guys are hyped about this, and definitely they will sell it to you. They will sell, and this is the reason why we don't have these games. They're critically endangered. That's why because they're like, oh, these fans are gonna get riled up at the smallest mention of the fart of a mention. They will get riled up and they will line up to buy these games. Like Street Fighter 6. That sells 2 million copies. Dalan, we've been getting down with that game. We actually recently got down with it a couple weeks ago in live and living color. I think that's the phrase, maybe. Are you hyped about the fact that these guys are... I think 2 million is big. You just don't know. I feel like you don't know with these numbers. Sometimes they feel...
Yeah, like I was gonna say 2 million for Street Fighter seems a little small for a Street Fighter game. Yeah. That was my concern there. Even though it has a significantly better reception than Street Fighter 5, it still seems like a very low number. To actually have in regards to just creating the next game, if they're even gonna create a 7. You know, when they created Street Fighter 4, they said we're not gonna make any more Street Fighters. We're just gonna keep fixing this one.
The lies we. But it's also one of those things, because even like with Final Fantasy 16, right? It's like we sold 3 million copies. Sometimes you feel it's like, is that a lot? Is that, is that gamesmanship? Like, they're, kind of like, look how many we sold. Don't you want to buy a copy? You should buy a copy. Other people like it. Or maybe it is a lot. Dale, what do you think, man?
This seems accurate, especially for like the amount of casuals that have been like responding to the game. But Mortal Kombat 1 will outsell this game probably twice as much easily.
Maybe. Okay, a little bit. You really are coming out with this smoke,
that's how
man.
That's how the facts is. People like their casual Mortal Kombat fighting game, but like when it comes to like tournament play, because sometimes people like casual players, they find Street Fighter a little bit intimidating to get into because it's a little bit more technical than Mortal Kombat, even though they're very good, competent fighting games. But
tell people to go play King of Fighters. They'll look at you stupid.
Yeah, right. I do agree though that with 6, I think they did something right. I did gamefly the game, and I kept it. I didn't send it back. I was like, Dalan, I think I like this game, so I think they did something. They quote unquote maybe simplified it, but knowing Dalan liked it himself, I guess it wasn't simplified or whatever to the point where like this is for babies.
They put in a career mode. They have like a single player mode and a career mode.
The career mode,
which I rage quit, by the way.
It was just the regular.
That's regular game, right? But that's not going to sell the game compared to like Mortal Kombat. That's the thing with casual people. Like they're like scared and intimidated to play online with a lot of people. They just rather play like a story mode, and that's why Injustice is really popular and Mortal Kombat's well.
All these are fair points, man. All these are fair points. Yeah. You came back with the smoke, Dale. You didn't care. You've been gone for months. And you're over here making some tough predictions.
I need someone to yell at. I need someone to yell at too.
All this is like pent up energy that you're like, I needed to express it somewhere. Well, there you go.
Tell us how you really feel, Dale.
Yeah, I like it though. I like this Dale, and he's a little inebriated. There, you know, he's drinking a couple. What are you drink? What are you sponsored by? This. Oh, okay.
Just Leinenkugel.
Something regular.
Did you come fresh off the driveway? Is that what happened today?
It's exactly what it was too.
It's a throwback right there. And Street Fighter is gonna throw in a new character, Rashid, July 24th. Dalan, are you buying this character, or how does this work? This is not free, right? You have to buy it.
There are some characters that are free and some that aren't. I'm not sure if this is actually included as a free one. I haven't actually looked to do it. But the question is, does anybody really want Rashid? He was a very cheap character that threw out a bunch of wind moves. He was out there doing weird tornado twister crap. So he was a fan favorite from part 5. So
you're telling me cheap moves. I'm gonna try to use them. The only problem is you're gonna try to use him as a counter. I don't like that. I don't like that.
No, I wouldn't do that. I honestly try to stick with my classic characters if I can. I do like some of the new characters, but I try to stick with the classic.
All right, we'll find out. In other Capcom-related news, they're discussing future remakes. This is according to VGC. Quote, during a recent general shareholder Q&A, the publisher was asked about its plans to continue, quote, high-end visual remakes of only the main numbered entries in the Resident Evil series, end quote. In response, Capcom said it was, quote, carrying out discussions regarding the future expansion of the series so it can be enjoyed by a wide audience, end quote. Which they kind of didn't answer the question, right? They didn't say like, are you, because people really want like a Code Veronica, right? I would want to play a Code Veronica. I don't want to go back to the stinky Dreamcast. I love the Dreamcast. I love it. You know how much I love the Dreamcast, Dale. I'm not trying to find it. I don't know where it is right now, man. Just give me a remake of Code Veronica. They didn't really answer, but I guess they're keeping us in mind. Dalan, what do you make of this, man?
I'll admit I want a remake of Revelations, and I also want
Revelations.
With their misprint with the Revelations.
I have that misprint, by the way. I have the copy of the misprint. Revelations. It's somewhere hanging around. But go ahead. My bad, Dalan.
But for that one, part 2, and Code Veronica X, I would love for there to be a remake, because I remember playing Code Veronica X and I enjoyed the heck out of that game. But as soon as you switch characters, there's like nothing to do and you're stuck against walls. I'm like, where the do I go? It gives you no good direction. I'm sure if they remade the game, they'd be able to give you better directions, or at least give you an option to like put down a wire and say you need to go this way or something.
So what I'm hearing you say, Dan, this is a direct quote from your mind right now, is that some of these games without quality of life updates, a couch, for example, they deserve to be critically endangered, is what you're saying. That's from your mind.
Opposite of what I said.
I just grabbed that from your mind, sir. That's a direct quote. They are also.
They just deserve to be fully remade rather than just remastered.
Okay, there you go. They're also considering how to approach making new Mega Man games, which is kind of interesting because I know they tried for a little while. They did the Mega Man, was it 8, 9, and 10, right? They kind of went to the classics, and it's the first Mega Man games I played and beat well, I probably played the originals, but the first one I've ever beat was Mega Man 8 or 9. Was it 9? One of them. I don't know. Whenever they brought back the classic one, and then I went back and beat the original ones. So it is kind of interesting because it has a weird history, right? As far as legends, and then you got the X games and all kinds of wackiness.
You got Mission Command.
Yeah. What would you want them to do, Dalan? What do you want them to consider? How would you want them to approach it? I suppose as far as a Mega Man.
As far as a Mega Man game, personally, I was a huge fan of Mega Man X. So the fact that they even stopped that storyline after 8 and they almost ruined their own series after 7. I was like, nah, they just need to go back to the basics of good side scrolling, a couple of extra mechanics like duck, which is a huge thing for Mega Man. The ability to duck in Mega Man was a huge thing.
I'm confirming it now. The ability to duck was a game changer for the Mega Man franchise and series.
But just keeping it side scrolling and up to date graphics with a fairly easy storyline to follow. You can keep throwing Mega Man games at me, and I'll keep playing them. Just give me weird bad guys to fight. Give me awesome powers to take from them, and I'll go kill Dr. Wily or Sigma or whoever they decide to throw at the end.
Everybody, just throw everybody at me, all the bodies.
Throw them at me. That's the same thing for Sonic. They should have just kept that going, but they ruined their own games.
So then, what you're saying is, when you play a Mega Man game, like when you go up to the bosses, you need more people. You need more people is what you're going up against them. Luis, what are your thoughts on this, man? How should they approach some new Mega Man games? What do you think?
That's something that I don't know. I don't have the minorest of ideas about how to approach that, and I don't want to be in their position because I know Dalan's saying just make it exactly the same, but
no
graphics. That's
kind of what
you heard.
That's what you heard.
Sure
that's what you said.
Why they haven't? There's a reason why they haven't done that for sure, because they're worried about it selling. The similar with Sonic. Like, I think it's those types of games, for whatever reason, just kind of they've fallen out of place of like in their space of like, where do they belong as far as like, where's the audience, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess Sonic is trying different things, and it might not work, and it might, who knows. But Mega Man's kind of just been like, we'll just release Battle Network and see how that hits, and then maybe if it's received well.
Yeah. I think you kind of hit the nail. What is it? The nail on the head, Dalen? Is that what it is? Help me with the white person phrases, please. But it's kind of they never transition, man. They never transition from 2D to 3D. Like, and maybe they don't have the capacity.
They just failed. That was Mega Man 7.
I'm saying the exact same thing. Then they didn't transition. They jumped and they fell flat on their face, right? Like, but so they didn't transition as well. Maybe it's beyond their capacity. Who knows? Maybe that's just how much of a genius Nintendo is, that they transition perfectly into Mario into 3D with Super Mario 64, and then Ocarina of Time, and then with the GOAT Metroid Prime, that they transition all these games into modern gaming, and just Sonic and Mega Man, and they just haven't been able to do it.
Give Mega Man a hat and see what he does with it. Just throw it at things.
And see what he does with it. Maybe he turns into a T-Rex. Maybe he turns into different, characters around the world. That was a interesting point for Nintendo.
Maybe he sucks up a car with his little cannon.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows, dude? Just try shit.
Just try shit.
Just try shit. Yeah.
Now, I do want to bring up the one thing that I think would make Mega Man be able to come back really, really awesome in a really awesome fashion. There was a game, I'm sure you guys remember, Rockman Zero or Mega Man Zero. That one was very much a Metroidvania type game.
Those would be potentially two very different games, no? Rock Band Zero?
Rockman.
I heard you say Rock Band Zero.
No, Rockman. His Japanese name was Rockman.
Yeah.
But the Mega Man Zero games, let's just stick with the American name for it. For that, they did their side scroller. They actually had a Metroidvania thing going on. It had a storyline, and that game was a straight up success. Parts 1 and 2, they completed their storyline, and they just didn't continue making those games. And if they just turned Mega Man into a Metroidvania game, I think they'd be able to come back with that.
I mean, I'm ready, but that's just stealing straight up Metroidvania. But I'm down.
So what?
Rockman in Metroidvania world. Let's do it. Let's go. The next thing that we're hoping is finalizing is Destiny 2 will have their showcase August 22nd. They've confirmed that it's going to be at 9 a.m. The final shape is to be fully revealed. It will be the final content pack for the Light and Darkness saga, where all events come to a head. That's according to VG 24/7. Luis, are you gonna be there, sir? Because I feel like you might have rage quit on Destiny with us.
No, I haven't rage quit.
Okay.
I feel like we all have.
Not just I.
But
Help
no,
me,
so
God.
I've had this in my calendar, like, oh, I want to watch this event. Let me watch it, and it just so happens to fall smack dab in the middle of like my vacation in Mexico. So I probably will have to catch this later after whatever we do that day, and then right before bed or something. But yeah, I'll check it out. All I know is that the last thing we heard about this, we saw Ikora talking to Cade 6, and that was it. So we don't know what's gonna happen after that.
There you go, Dalan. We hyped about this. Or
Well,
what
they
are you
also
thinking here?
announced the end of Zavala's lines, which made us all sad too. You see that pouty face? Yes, I am sort of hyped, but I don't know. Have you guys actually caught up with the story for Destiny 2?
I
Hell
don't
no.
think so. It's a lot.
That's
It's a
what it
lot.
is.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
No, because it's one of those things that we let some of those weeks go by. We don't know it. Yes, we'll have to do some repetitive things because we didn't let the stupid missions that they give you. We're not going to have them breathe. We're going to go do a deep dive, do a mission. Deep dive, do a mission. Deep dive, deep dive. That's the thing I hate about these seasons is they get that one arena thing that gets played the hell out, and I don't want that.
They've been doing that for a while, Dalan. I'm
Yes.
kind of ready. I don't know what this means. I don't know if it means like they're gonna close the Destiny 2 story and then we'll get the next one. But I will be there.
No. What they're doing is they're trying to tell the story of the witness because they gave very little,
which is cool,
information on it. Yeah, that's what all these seasons are. They're just leading up to what is the witness doing? Why am I after the witness? Let's go kill the witness.
Which is, it's a lot. Destiny 2 is a lot of cool shit. Like especially if you step away from it. And what do I say every time I get back and start playing the game? I was like, this is a good fucking game. It's so smooth, so smooth. The grind, dude. The grind is kind of what gets you sometimes. That's really what it is. Otherwise, the characters are cool. The sound is beautiful. The small amount of campaign you get every season is great, but it's just rough out here, man. And I know they said, as far as talking about the ending, they said don't expect it to end in Avengers-style team up with the Horde. That's according to Eurogamer. They said, "quote The Hive has still committed a lot of." Genocide. Senior narrative designer Robert Brooks told Dexerto, pouring cold water on the Guardians and the Hive suddenly becoming besties. Luis, were you hoping for a kind of a little team up with the Horde? Or?
No, I actually did not envision anything like that, and I'm glad that they kind of came out and said it straight up. I wasn't even thinking about it, but the fact that they're like, yeah, it's not gonna be everyone one final hero shot of everyone jumping at the enemy at the same time.
I like the little fist. It's always the little fist.
They're flying. He's got a hammer for some reason, but no, it's like I think I got room for maybe one for sure, maybe depending on the game, two grindy type games in my life, and sometimes some of them just gotta fall out of the rotation, man. And right now that one's Destiny, so that's just what happened.
All right.
That's because you went to Red Dead.
Red Dead, yeah. Well, I think he's talking live action games, right, Lisa? Or
what?
Live action games or grindy? You mean grindy as in like the RPG of Honkai Star Rail, right? Or
grind of like leveling, like
okay,
time sync, time dedication of like I need to level up, I need to do this.
And you also got to find all the legendary beasts in Red Dead as well, right? You got to kind of make time for that. I killed them. Okay, I murdered them. I got them all. Hey, the other thing that we're going to get is NBA 2K24 is going to have crossplay for the first time. Luis, I've tried to play these games. I love basketball, but I just can't, man. I just can't. The last NBA game I think I got into was like what was it, Volume 2 or Street, NBA Street. Those were nice, dude. Especially when you could dunk the dunk for like 3 times, you get 3 or 4 points at a time. It was beautiful. But Luis, why is this a big deal? The fact that it's crossplay, or did you already have enough?
It's a big deal for 2K. It's a big deal for NBA 2K, but that they're just finally kind of catching on with the times. This should have been
we've been telling y'all
a while ago. I don't know what kept them from doing this for so long. Yeah. But that's kind of what all the replies on all of their social medias when they're like, "It's finally here! Like, get hyped!" And was like, "Why did you barely like do this now?"
Yeah.
But I do like that it will not be backwards compatible, right? You can't crossplay PS5 to PS4, so I can keep throwing that I don't play the poor people version to prove.
What?
Yeah, that's
this is the first time I've heard this quote.
Well, you're not in the chat, Dalan. You gotta get an iPhone, man. You gotta get an iPhone. I've been hearing this for a while now, actually, and it's beautiful every time. It's beautiful every time, I will say.
Because it's always like, Nutra doesn't want to play with me, and I'm like, but I don't play the poor people version. I've already told you, like, like I'm over here next gen.
I'm just not doing it.
Yeah,
I'm over here rising above.
these type of games definitely aren't kind of up your wheelhouse. They are very sort of well, yeah, it's a sim.
Yeah, it's
Basically.
kind of a
It's sim.
simmy type game,
You
right?
have to dribble. You have to decide what type of shot. You don't just you can press a button and it'll like decide what kind of shot you want. But the hardcore, like, oh, let me do like a Euro step. You have control over all of that shit.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But the thing, though, even though it's crossplay, I hope this means they have better server connections because there's a crazy amount of lag in these games when you're playing multiplayer, and in a way you have to use it to your advantage. Of like, okay, let me step this way, let me step that way.
You play it a
because
certain
I know
way.
that the lag is too strong. You're gonna just like skirt past somebody. So
Okay.
yeah, you have to play it. It's interesting playing defense in this game. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, so yeah, it's funny that you kind of have to account for that. You do have to account for that. But yeah, even in their marketing material, I don't know if you've seen their commercials, like it finally crossplay. It's like, okay, I guess it's a big deal. I don't know. You would think they'd have something else to market, but they're getting crossplay.
Yeah, like the Kobe Bryant edition or something. Maybe?
There you go. Why not talk about that? The other thing that maybe people don't want to talk about, or this particular individual doesn't want to talk about, is Yuji Naka gets $1.2 million for insider trading. He is able to avoid jail time, and this is via VG 24/7. Late last year, Naka was arrested over allegedly, at the time, insider trading, having bought stock in A-Team Entertainment, the developer of Dragon Quest Tact and Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier, prior to either of the games being publicly announced. Now, as reported by Japanese outlet Gigi, thanks PC Gamer, Naka has been fined a very hefty amount. The fine is in two parts, one being a not too much by comparison 2 million yen, about $14,000 charge, the other being a further 171 million, roughly $1.2 million penalty. Luis, I know we mentioned, I've kind of sprinkled it here and there since we've heard about it, and I did share an elevator with this criminal. I love the man. I love the man. At the time, I was like, yes, Yuji Naka, creator of Sonic. You never transitioned to 3D, but I can forgive you for that. Anyways, I was in an elevator with this man, and now he's just out here, man.
We're breathing the same air as a criminal. You think he was criming at that exact moment? Like he just crimed?
Was he
I
criming?
don't know.
He just crimed on his way up the elevator.
I don't know if he was criming at the time. I think it's one of those things.
Right behind you.
I want to assume he was innocent at the time, man. I want to assume that this criming life has only happened in recent times, but that's what I think. I think it's one of those things where it kind of gets away from you. Maybe he's like, yeah. What is it? What are we gonna sell? He's like, yeah, I can do that. And like, boom, motherfucker, we caught you. We got you. There's just somebody lying in wait, dude. Someone lying in wait for Yuji Naka to slip, and they got him.
All that being said, that's not as much as I would have thought it would have been. I mean, not only did he not get jail time, but insider trading only, in quotes, only 1.2 mil? Like, hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. He probably bought everything he already wanted to buy with that money, too, so he's chilling.
And he's like, whatever, man. I got my royalties from Sonic. They keep trying to make that shit work. The next thing we have on here is that, we did mention it a little bit earlier, but it's unlikely that we'll get a new Banjo Kazooie. The developer thinks that the audience is not there. This is via VGC. They said, and despite a $3 million Kickstarter and over 1 million copies sold for their spiritual successor, Platonic Games Yooka-Laylee, composer Grant Kirkhope questioned whether the audience was truly there for a new game. Quote, I feel like you'd have to get a team with the humor that we had back then, and that's hard to replicate. I think Rare would be open to somebody if they found the right team, but I don't feel like that team exists. Also, I'm not convinced the audience is there either. I don't feel like there are that many Banjo fans out there. Luis, are you one of the Banjo fans? Are you hoping to bring this thing back?
Well, I was one of the people that got Yooka-Laylee because I loved Banjo Kazooie so much. But there was something that was missing from that game where it just like it had the mechanics, the world, the characters, it was all kind of there, but what he kind of said right there, the humor, like the writing was not hitting as well as it did in the old one. And the funny thing to say, because you were reading the game back then, right? There wasn't like the dialogue was like you couldn't understand what they were saying, right? So yeah, I think if they just get, because I think they were missing the original. It was either the original level designer or the original writer of the game, something like that, when they made Yooka-Laylee.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's right. I guess if they could get someone at Rare interested in kind of pursuing that, but it's hard. I don't think they could. Yeah, I don't know if the audience is still there. So
yeah, well, it's kind of the audience is still there, and like you were just saying, like the team has to be there, right? The team that's like, oh, let's make this funny ass game. Let's make a Brutal Legend. Let's make a Conker's Bad Fur Day. Let's. There's got to be like this excitement or this like team that's like, we want to make this. We don't care if Dalan likes it. We don't care if Dale likes it. We're just going to make it. We're just going to believe in it. The other thing here, before we get into what you've been playing, is that Final Fantasy 16 finally gets that update. I don't know if you guys were looking online, but people apparently were upset by the blur. The blur options, I played it, I guess, in full blur mode before this thing was updated. And I beat the game, and I didn't have that much of an issue with it. I think, you know what, sometimes you hear about these things where it's like, I think it was like a TV show one time, I forget what the episode was, but they're like, this TV episode was dark as hell, I couldn't see anything. I was like, I could perfectly see everything. So I don't know if sometimes it's people's TVs, and I think I did plug this game into my child's TV, which is a budget TV, it's a budget Hisense TV, and I was like, there's a lot of blurring happening right now. So I think it might come down to your display, man. I honestly think so, but I'm glad that they were like, all right, whatever, just to placate all these people. We said there would never be any updates ever. You can just play this game from the disc for here on out. They updated it, and it gives you a scale. If you guys haven't looked at it, it gives you a scale from 1 to 5. And I left it at full blur, man. Whatever. But I know, Deo, we were talking a little bit off of wax, but you haven't played the game. Was it because of the blur? Were you getting a blur effect out here? Okay.
Because I played the demo, and I was like, why am I feeling so sick or nauseous when I'm playing this like right now? Not when it was like those heavy cutscenes or whatever like that, but actual gameplay. So yeah, I'm glad they fixed it and they gave us an option. I'm glad that they didn't go like a Starfield route where they're like, no, we're not going to give you 60 frames per second. But that's like another discussion.
Enjoy your sandwiches, all right? Get off our case. Get off our case now.
Give us the option. That's all I want. And so that's why, like, yeah, I've been waiting for that. I guess a little bit too long since this came out, I guess, last week or whatever. So, but yeah, no, I'll jump on it after this whole thing came on. So.
Yeah, as a little teaser, I think we might get a spoiler cast. It might just be me and Dalan, but maybe our buddy Jeremy. I don't know, but we might get a spoiler cast hopefully sooner than later. Maybe no pressure there, Dale. I know you've only been back after your little hiatus, but no.
I gotta catch up. There's a lot of stuff I gotta catch up.
Dalan, what do you think of the blur option, man? Have you been kind of getting a little affected by it?
Quite honestly, I didn't even notice until people started raving about it. And then I looked at my screen while I was turning in the middle of a fight. I was like, yeah, that's the thing that's been messing me up in these fights. I didn't even realize it. So I dropped it from like 5 to 2 or something like that. Because when I put it at 0, man, it was dropping frames, looking choppy. I was like, nah, it's gonna have some sort of blur. But maybe it does come down to the monitor itself. I don't know, but I am glad that they decided it's a new couch, man. It's a couch that you could choose.
So this is why I guess we can get into what you've been playing, Dalan. We'll get into we're gonna talk about threads a little bit later on. At least we'll just kind of end it on that point right there, right? But as far as Final Fantasy 16, you skip it. All right.
I'm pretty sure I had some witty response when I said yes. Okay. I don't remember what else I was saying.
Okay, Rezo. Anyway, Threads is out there just in case people are like, oh, what are they going to talk about in Threads? It's like, what? We don't remember, people. We're sorry. We're going to end it on what you've been playing here.
This is how professional we are.
This is how professional we are. We don't remember what we were going to say. If you remember, at least throw it out there, I guess. But yeah, Final Fantasy 16, I did beat it. Like I was saying off of West, I'm trying to not get into too many spoilers here, but I did beat it. I had a good time with it. It was I will admit I didn't want to say nothing, but now I'll say it. I threw in all the rings, Dalan, all the auto dodging, all the timely attacks. Give me everything. I don't care. All right, I wanted to make it easy and fun. Let me get to the story. I think the Game of Thrones thing was overplayed for sure, because there's like 1 or 2 scenes or 3 scenes like, that's kind of adult. And I think we might have even said it because we were just an hour, and what the fuck do we know, right? An hour or 2 into the game. But fully having experienced the game, I think they overplayed that. But like I said, that we'll leave that for spoiler talk on another episode. But other than that, I will say, I will recommend, once you beat the game, do the side stories. And this is one of those cases
do the side stories while you're playing.
I was actually going to say that, Dalan. This is one of those cases that try to do at least the big ones, the big characters that you're like, okay, what does this what is this? I was about to cuss. What does this guy have to say? Follow his little thread. They're usually not that long, right? You maybe do like 1 or 2 little quick side missions, but they do fill in like the world and like what you're fighting for, because otherwise the story is kind of very quick and you're moving from point to point. But I did have fun with it. I know people were very quick to like, where's the RPG elements? And even one of the one of the podcasts I titled "Where's the RPG element?" But that's kind of tongue in cheek, because I did like the action part. I did like a lot of the action part. There's definitely is not a lot of RPG stuff happening, but after having beaten it, Dalan, now on a hard mode, now I'm like, damn, I'm kind of struggling out here. What are some strategies to, even with my timely dodges, with my attacks, I'm under leveled. I actually have to grind a little bit, not too much. It's an acceptable grind. It's very much like you're usually like a level below, so you're like, all right, let me get a couple matches, these little side characters, these side enemies, in order to be ready for the boss fight here. But other than this, I'm liking it, man. And the trophies are very nice. They're very like, they kind of push you to try different things that I wouldn't. I told Dalan off wax that I beat the game with, like, they call them icons, the 3 different little powers that you get, and eventually you get like 6 or 7. I beat the game with the 3 initial icons. I didn't never switch to anything out there until after when I was like, oh, what, I should try to get these trophies. Like, damn, I could have used this on that fight and this fight and that fight, but here I am doing the trophies, and that's why I know these other icons exist. But Dalan, enough about me. What did you think, man? How you're kind of what percentage maybe of the way, or how far are you into the game?
I don't know what percentage, but I'm trying not to spoil anything, so I'm not even going to say
we'll get into it.
How far I am.
We'll get into spoiler cast.
But there is one thing I will say in regards to the game itself. Yes, the missing RPG elements. I think I've touched base on that a couple of times now. But the one thing I do advise, even if you don't do any of the other side quests, even if you don't do anything else, do the side quests that have the little plus sign on the symbols. Those are the ones that give you more stuff. Because this guy walked around with not enough health potions.
Oh, that's true. That's the other thing. That is the other thing. I kept running out of potions, and I'm like, what do I do? The side mission takes care of that. A couple side missions take care. You don't even have to do things. You know how some games will not necessarily hide shit, but they won't tell you anything? No, just do a couple side missions, and eventually it'll be easy enough for you to have max potions. All right, just
do all the ones that have the plus sign on it. So if you see a plus sign on the green bubble, go do it.
That's a pro tip. Yeah. What else, Dalan? What else? What else you got for you beat it, and we'll do a spoiler cast. You want to save what else you got to say on it, or
I'll hold off on it because I don't want to hurt Luis's ears talking about Final Fantasy 16. Okay, and really, 16 is like the only thing I even I played it for like an hour this last week, and I haven't had time to do anything.
Hey, that compare trophies thing, I like it, man. I'm like, how far is Dalan? How much progress has he made, or how much progress has Jeremy made? I do like how, so Dalan came over to my house one time, and he went straight into my trophies, and he's like, you've been playing in the wee hours of the night. I'm like, what the fuck what the hell is it? What the hell is it? Detective Pikachu and shit going into my trophies list. You know, you can just compare the trophies from your system, right? You can go in there.
I didn't think about it until I was at your house, and I was like, I want to know how far Carlos is, but I don't want to boot up the game and look at his file. So I just looked at, my bright idea was to look at the trophies.
Okay, reasonable. Luis, anything you've kind of been playing? I don't know if he's hearing us. I think he blocks us out during these Final Fantasy 16 segments. Dale, we'll go with you. We'll go with you. We'll go with you, Dale. Oh, he might be frozen. Go ahead, Dale. What have you been playing while we figure out Luis's thing here, I guess?
Yeah, so I had to like portably game some stuff. So I was using my Steam Deck to play Xbox Game Pass, and so I was playing some Persona 5 Royal, which I never finished Persona 5, the original version of the game.
Oh, so you're gonna have more fun.
Oh my god, it's so much fun. I don't know why. Like, it takes me a long time to get around to play this game because it's very grindy and it's like 100 hours. But I was like, I'm gonna dedicate myself to this game because it's super fun. I don't know why I avoided it. Yeah, the dialogue and the very Japanese, what do you call it? Everyday life kind of situation that the gameplay loop runs through is really cool.
Are you gonna play that Persona 5 Tactics? Are you gonna play that game?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna play that game.
have you played the other ones there, like 3, 4, and the Vita version?
I played a little bit of 4. like for Gold. Like I played a little bit of that because it was on the PS Vita, but I haven't played the other ones. Like I have them, but I just never got around to play them. And so like because I couldn't play Final Fantasy 16 because I was like very like away from my house like all the time.
Yeah.
So I just stuck with this one. So it I was like, man, this dialogue's fantastic.
What are you
This is always-
playing?
this
What are
is
you
really
playing
good.
this on? It's on the Switch. Is that what you're?
Steam
My Steam Deck.
Oh,
Steam
that's
Deck.
right. Yeah. Okay. Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I have it somewhere. I have it hanging around. It's one of those games along with another Yakuza game that's still in plastic, man. So Persona 5 Royale and one of the Yakuza games is in plastic. But yeah, that's definitely one of those. It's good. I think I the times I've dipped into those games, they're always like, this is a good game. These are good RPG games. There's no wonder why there's fans around this. Did you have something? Did I step on your line there, Dalan? Or
Well, I was gonna say in regards to whether or not you should play some of those Persona games, 1 and 2 you can kind of skip on them. I mean, if you want to be able to get the old school like Persona games in your life, you can. But Persona 3 Fest was probably one of the best games out of the series to ever come out of Persona.
Mhm.
Persona 5.
I heard
Persona
that got
4,
dark though. I heard it gets really dark. Like the subject
it got
matter.
dark, but it's still an excellent story. But
Yeah.
Persona 4, I tried to play Persona 4. I could not do their dungeons. It took forever just to reach an enemy with their super long hallways. Then you had to go through like 15 floors, and you couldn't save that entire time.
Yeah, those
You
were
had
annoying.
to transport all the way back to the beginning. I was like, fuck this game.
Yeah.
I
Like my
remember
fear,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, my fear is that like after playing Persona 5 Royal, like there's so many like quality of life features inside of this JRPG that it makes like other RPGs feel like super clunky. And like, everything feels like it takes too long, or like they should have solved it this way because Persona 5 did it, so why can't they adopt that? But
Yeah.
it is
Persona
what it is.
5, Carlos, Persona 5 is frictionless. You need to play this.
I forgot to
easy.
say that. I forgot to say that about Final Fantasy 16, but it's getting close. Hey, these awards at the end of the year for frictionless are getting Persona 5 Royal was last year, but it could be
That's
your,
a long time.
yeah.
that's last
So,
year. Yeah.
but this 16, it's one of those, man. It's being a little frictionless out here. I forgot to mention that about that, but don't tempt me with the frictionless game. Do not tempt me.
That
All right,
game,
man, I'm
for
ready.
an RPG, this was a frictionless, beautiful,
It's a
well-made
frictionless
story
yep.
game.
Yeah,
Okay.
for 100 hours though, so just keep that in mind.
You don't even feel it, honestly.
That's true.
It's like-
Honestly,
Really,
yeah.
at least
I'm like
die.
30 hours in. I was like, wow, really?
Yeah,
Easiest 30 hours of a JRPG ever.
Yeah, I like how Dalan not only stepped on your line, but it was for this one time, Dale, it was a good one because like Luis died because as you guys can see, his little character is gone.
Yeah,
as
he's
far
gone.
as what he's telling me is like he has to restart his computer. Hopefully his audio got saved, so that'll be interesting post
Yeah, it
show.
should be.
But
see.
anything else on Royal or what else have you been playing, Dale?
Yeah, no, I've just been playing Royal, and then I delved into the Halo Infinite Season 4 came out. There wasn't any like I would call it
Fanfare.
Xbox presence or anything for it, which sucks because it's actually a very good update, and they're bringing like a lot of cool additions, like an equipment and maps to the game that should have been there. Like career rank should have been there from day one, but it's like I want to applaud 343 for adding all this stuff, but like honestly, this shit should have been there day one. So
They're
Too late.
They're probably
Yeah.
taking the Master Chief Collection roadmap, Dale, where it took like 5 years before that thing was playable, right? It took like a long time. Like it was
Stupid.
like the cutscenes would crash the game, all kinds of like wacky stuff.
couldn't
Like,
find
damn.
servers to play on. Like it was a mess.
Yeah, so that's what they're on, man. And look, Luis unfortunately has left us as well. He couldn't even we didn't know what he was gonna. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Okay, okay, Luis came
Perfect
back.
timing.
He came
The
perfect
timing
time.
is impeccable.
Hey.
Always.
The timing is impeccable as to we're about to close up the show. So, Carlos Macias, the master of what, Dalan?
The master of Matthew McConaughey.
There you go. You remember, man. You know, it's always a test. It's always a test. Does he remember what he said? Because I always remember. Right?
All
I
right,
think.
all right.
Carlos Macias, the master of Matthew McConaughey quotes. Dalen Kirkwood from Up in the Mountains. Thank you for joining us this week, sir.
Woot woot.
Deo Blas, you're always welcome, sir. We hope this was a nice little reprieve or a little break from, all this stuff that's been going on.
It is.
As you can tell, nothing has changed. But we did good time. I feel like we made good time, so that did change. Because Lise was, I don't know if we said it on wax or off wax, but Lise was like, Dayo's not back, and we're running like 7 hours long right now. So,
real quick,
Uh-huh.
because it's fun for me, and I get to say this. Some episodes ago, we found out about that word delineators,
Okay.
and then I very recently found out what the term is for those yellow posts that you see in parking lots that like guard buildings and stuff, so you don't hit stuff.
Oh,
They're
Baller?
called- Yeah, baller.
Hey, of course, don't try to surprise Dale with these words.
Dale, no!
Yeah, Dale's like, ballers? I mean, that's what we've been
Yeah,
doing.
ballers. I didn't know that was a word for
Bollards.
I didn't even know that those
Okay,
things
yeah,
had a name. I didn't even know they had a name.
Ballers.
They just say, "Can you put some yellow things here?" That's
No,
all.
can you put some
them on the
safety
plan?
posts here? I was like, that's it.
Well, now you know. Hey, and Luis came back just in time for that. So Luis Mendez on the wheels of steel. What happened, Luis? Can you tell people what was going on over here? It's a little.
I went to plug in something to charge on my computer, and then I got like something that said power surge something, and everything just like
Ooh.
stopped working.
Oh,
Damn, did you get your
I
audio
hear you.
saved?
I was frozen, but I could hear you guys blabbering on. I was trying to figure out if I could get it to work live on air, I guess.
yeah.
But I just restarted, man.
We were. Hey,
But did you get the audio saved? That's the question.
We'll find out.
we will find out.
Shit.
It's been another episode of Salient Points. Thank you for joining us. Remember, link, subscribe, or is it link, like, subscribe, whatever you call it. If you comment, we will talk about it. So, see you guys next week. And yeah, we got power surges, we got ballers over here. See you guys next week. Latest.